to another Valley Zero channel. I'm Jacob from Jacob's Books Corner, where I am here to talk about, like, actually like 18 books, which is probably the title, but in reality I think we're only talking about 11 of those books. I read some issues of some comic books I'm going to talk about at a later date, so I don't need to talk about them here, and some other things, and some kids stuff. Once again, not necessary. I do, however, want to start with a quote from a unicorn book. May become a common thing as the quote that I post on my Instagram for the day that's going on will actually be. We're going to read together in the very beginning. My first joke. Alright, are you ready for it? And you can guess the joke at the very end. I will tell you at the very end of the video what the pun is, or at the end of the entire video to ponder. What do you call a unicorn without a horn? So ponder that as we talk about these like 11. So the first one I want to talk about is Queen of Tiles by somebody, I'm not entirely sure. I ended up giving this a 2.5 out of 5 stars. This was a book that I read for my quarterly TBR video. It was for April. I read it in June. Don't ask me about it. It's been a month. It's been a year. You know what I mean? It's about a girl who goes back to a Scrabble competition because her friend was tragically suddenly died at one. And so she's there to reclaim the title, but also kind of figure out the mystery behind the death and stuff. And there's also somebody there who's posting Instagram posts on hers who's saying that she's alive and stuff. And so there's this like conspiracy going on. I ended up really not liking any of the characters and or the plot, and there's something about the Scrabble game that also kind of annoyed me throughout, so like it just ended up not really jazzing for me. Hopefully it jazzes for you as a reader though, as I would recommend, even though I scored it pretty freaking low. Next one we have, I don't know if I'd recommend or not. My friend loved the entire series, which is why I read it, so maybe I do, and that is Unforgiven, I think is what it's called. This is a romance series about a group of brothers that are raised kind of like in like a foster home from a dad who raised them to be like Dexter serial killers where they only kill bad people. This one deals with a lot of very triggering topics, so please look up them before you do read, and some of them are more explored in graphic details and some of them are just kind of glossed over. It is a gory revenge ride with this boy who doesn't really know exactly, like he understands why he's there, but like it's a bit of a mess. And we also have a love interest that's very much like want to protect you. You are the only thing that matters to me. You are my life and soul, which is fun, but also can be like a lot. So, and that's this one. I thought it was fine. The writing is really what drove me insane here. And of course, when you start thinking of like the actual relations between the two people, it starts to kind of fall apart in the edges anyways. And those are the two that I have to show up on the screen. Go ahead and talk about, and that is Take Me With You by Andrea Gibson. This is a poetry collection that I can only describe as Hobby Lobby poetry. By that I mean like you walk into a store, like the Hallmark store as well, and you see this quote, "Home is where the heart." This is where that quote would come from. That's what the majority of these things are, and I ended up giving it as like a 3.5 or 4. It was my final rating. The first section, which is dedicated to love, I thought was really good. There's a few poems in there that didn't really connect, but a lot of it did, and didn't really hit home, but like it was a good time. Everything else got a little bit too religious for me and stuff, and as much as I do love the fact that we're seeing religion from an LGBT perspective, where it's very loved and it doesn't feel like you're hated things, which I'm all for, it just was a little too preachy for me, which is weird. So yeah, that's why I ended up not liking the rest of the book, as it just kind of focused too much on God. But once again, I do like the representation because there's a lot of people out there talking about religion in a good light when it comes to the LGBT community, and so maybe this is exactly up your alley because of that. The next one are the bad guys. I read 2, 3, and 4. 2 introduces the spider, 3 introduces the mystery like ninja, and this is like zombies, kittens, also stuff to do with rodents, and a little bit of chickens. That's what these are about. It's to establish some of the main villains and stuff as the series progresses. This is like a 14-book series. And as I have seen the movie, which is phenomenal, boy cast is great. Like it's a really well done movie. It's on Peacock now, so I do recommend it in case you missed it in theaters. I do think they just took little elements from all the books and put it in one movie, or maybe up to like book like 6 or 7. I'm not there yet. I don't think I'm gonna continue on though, as these progressively got more and more children, which is fine. This is a children's series. I think they're written for like 7 or 8-year-olds, if I'm being honest with you. And I'm 23, so like no disrespect. But interestingly enough, the idea that the first one can withstand that and the first one feels very much an adult novel with children attributes makes me sad that these 3 do not, but my will adore them and I'll pass them along before I take them back and have other. The next one was a book that I truly was looking forward to that ended up just extremely falling flat in every way, shape, or form, and that is If You Can Change Your Mind by Robbie Weber. If You Can Change Your Mind is a story that follows our main character, Harry, as he is torn between two love interests over his senior year summer, Logan and Grant. Grant is an old love of his that left to go to LA, where he's always wanted to go, that he ends up chatting about for not so great reasons. And then we have Logan, the new guy, who ends up having a crush on Harry, and Harry might have one back. Harry as the main character is like one of the most insufferable characters I've read from in a very long time, so that's always fun and made the book so much enjoyable. The situations he ends up putting himself in and the reactions he has to those situations are truly not enjoyable to read. And it's definitely a book like you're supposed to like the main character. It's not a book where you're like, ooh, this main character is questionable. No, I think it was written for you to like the main character. The reason why this book was so disappointing for me, and which is probably why it's gonna make it my worst book of the quarter list, because of the simple fact I watched the whole process and I was looking forward to this. This is like a Christina Ricci coming out and then being trash. A lot of people think those are trash. I don't, but it's fine. This is the same vibe I got, which was an interesting experience. So I didn't like it. Hopefully you guys like it better than I did. And if you guys do, let me know why in the comments. Love to know. We get into the good shit. The real good shit. A lot of these books I'm actually going to be talking again in a video really soon. So if I gloss over some of my direct opinions on them, that's the reason. So we have I Kissed Charlotte Wheeler by Casey McQuestion. This book I'm going to be talking about in my quarterly vlog video when I read it back in May, and beginning of May and June. And then I'll also be talking about it in a different video as well, in that whole wrap up. So with I Kissed Charlotte Wheeler, this follows Chloe as she is trying to solve the mystery of where Charlotte went. She kissed her before prom, and then prom, she disappeared. And it's all about like 4 or 5 weeks before graduation, and it's an interesting time. I do want to mention this book deals with heavy, like a lot of religion. Chloe ends up going to a high school that is a religious high school that her mother went to and was prosecuted for. Chloe, our main character, is bisexual. Her 2 moms are not really loved in the community. Just have a best friend and things, and it's a really good. I really liked the representation, and I obviously loved Casey McQuestion's writing for sure. This is a 4.5 out of 5. It was almost a 5, but it didn't go far enough because it's YA. It just couldn't get rated not as great because of. Then we have a reread, my only reread of the month, and that is Time as a Mother by Ocean Young, or Vong. I really enjoyed Time as a Mother the first time I read it back in April, but I'm going to reread it for this wrap up because I'm trying to get to my top 5 books of the quarter. It still made the list, but it barely did. Before it was like a top runner, top spot. Not anymore. This is going to be towards the bottom of my top 20 list of the year, whereas I wish it was more towards like the top of my top 20 list. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of poems here that I really enjoyed that Ocean had ended up writing. It's between paragraph form and poetry. There's a few actual like story driven ones in here and stuff, and so it's a really big mix of a memoir for me personally. There's a lot of emotion and a lot of things do hit true to home, but also like I just wish more came out of it, if that makes any sense. Maybe it doesn't. It still is really good. I recommend it. I gave it a 4. Second reread originally was a fun call. Then we have Colton Haynes' Miss Memory Lane, which is his memoir, which I fucking adored. So I was Colton from the time I'm pretty sure he was a baby up until the last few years. The book was written because he almost died from a drug overdose, and so he was reflecting on his life, and he ended up having stories about his family, his work, and things. You guys don't know who Colton Haynes is. He's most known for his role on either Arrow as Roy or Teen Wolf as, oh my god, as Blaine Gang. I love it. I can't think of it. Yeah, no, Teen Wolf. Oh, he was also on Scream Queens. I do forget that. He's in the 2nd season, which is why I forget. He was on Scream Queens, that's true. And the stuff that happens in his beginnings of childhood, which are fascinating, does take up the majority of the book. Felt a little too personal. It was really hard for me to listen and experience. And so it was hard. It was a hard book to digest. And then the parts that I was really looking forward to that I thought was going to be like more of my savior part of the book ended up going by so fast that it didn't last as long. And so you have like this mix of very heavy stuff with not enough fun in it, but like it's life, so like isn't that life? I don't know. I really liked it. It was a 5 out of 5 for me personally. I highly recommend. I just wish there was more stories of his time either on Arrow or on Teen Wolf, as there's only like 1 or 2 dedicated to both. And then we have All That's Left in This World by Eric J. Brown. Once again, this book was also slightly disappointing because I thought there were zombies. There's nothing to do with zombies. So I think once you understand that there's no zombies in this book could be absolutely perfect for you. This is a 4.5 for me as well. Definitely one of my favorites of the quarter. This is about 2 police unit going on a road trip in a post-apocalyptic world and having to survive. It is a very extreme soul burden romance, as one of the characters in here is trying to figure out who they are, sexuality-wise and just in general, and it's a very well done exploration. Plus, there's a community they end up going to towards the back half of the book, which I don't think is ever explored in this medium. and it was fascinating. So I think it's very true to what would be there, but I don't think, because there's not enough queer representation in media, especially this type of media, post-apocalyptic media, in my opinion, that focuses on queer representation. I don't think it's explored, at least not I've seen before. I love this book. Highly recommend All That's Left in This World. And of course, the answer to your question, or the question I propose to you, the question, if you didn't forget, is what do you call a unicorn without a horn? And the answer is pointless. But with that being said, I would love to know your least and your best, or your least favorite and your favorite book of the month was. Alright, I'll call you guys on next time. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.